More than 50,000 children are stranded on the southern borders of the United States. They range in age from 17 to 3 years old. They are alone. No parents have traveled with them. They have journeyed 1,000 miles from some of the most dangerous places on earth, sent by their parents to safety away from a humanitarian crisis at home. Because the facilities to shelter these children are overwhelmed themselves, their arrival at our border presents a humanitarian crisis here. A few weeks ago, the regional office of HHS, it's really about 10 days ago, asked us, as were several other states asked, whether we could and would temporarily shelter some of these children while they are processed under our law for deportation or for reuniting with their families in the United States. Their request was for up to 90,000 square feet of space for use for up to 4 months to accommodate up to 1,000 stranded children. The types of facilities sought by HHS and FEMA ranged from military bases to unused shopping malls. The facility would be under federal, not state control, but I can give you some of the details. The facility would be secure. It would have spaces for children to sleep, eat, play, and go to school. The average stay for children sheltered there would be 35 days based on experience elsewhere, during which they will be processed as described. All expenses would be borne by the federal government. In response to the federal request, we have proposed 2 locations to shelter the children: Joint Base Cape Cod in Bourne and the Westover Air Base in Chicopee. The process from here, led by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, is for federal authorities to vet the locations for suitability, choose which, if either, to use, to make any necessary improvements, and to staff the facility with all appropriate personnel. I don't know how long that process will take or to what extent it depends on funding being appropriated by Congress in accordance with the President's recent request. We've received several questions and inquiries since my comments about this the other day. We have a written Q&A available to reporters. It has been shared with members of the legislature and our congressional delegation and will be available to members of the public on the mask.gov website today. Normally, I would wait until we had all the details before hosting a media avail of this kind, but since there is so much interest and some confusion, I thought we would offer you what information we have so far and address those questions that we can. Before I take your questions, I want to add a couple of other thoughts. Although this is a temporary shelter, should there ultimately be one in Massachusetts, it will be under exclusive federal control and responsibility. And we have received many, many expressions of support for the children and requests for ways to help. While the reasons for this surge of new arrivals still need to be understood and addressed, and the debate over immigration reform continues, it bears remembering that these are children alone in a foreign land. They will need age-appropriate toys and books. They will also need the company of responsible adults, especially those who speak Spanish. As a parent, and as one who has himself been a stranger in a strange land, I know this will matter. It is unclear at this point what the role of volunteers will be if a facility ultimately opens here. But we want to work with the federal government and with faith and refugee organizations to give those who want a way to help a channel through which to do so. If you call the governor's office, we will collect names and information of interested adults and forward them to any shelter we may ultimately have through the appropriate relief agencies. There are practical, policy, and political arguments not to shelter these children, and I have heard many of them. We have consulted with the federal government to assure they will meet all the children's needs and bear all the costs. We have consulted with refugee agencies to understand what the children's needs actually will be, and I have talked with faith leaders, some of whom are here, and searched my own conscience. I have come down where I have for two main reasons: love of country and lessons of faith. We are a great nation. Unlike any other superpower, America's power, to paraphrase a great man, comes from giving, not from taking. America, and this Commonwealth in particular, has given sanctuary to desperate children for centuries. We have rescued Irish children from famine, Russian and Ukrainian children from religious persecution, Cambodian children from genocide, Haitian children from earthquakes, Sudanese children from civil war, and children from New Orleans from Hurricane Katrina. Once, in 1939, we turned our backs on Jewish children fleeing the Nazis, and it remains a blight on our national reputation. The point is that this good nation is great when we open our doors and our hearts to needy children, and diminished when we don't. The other reason I have offered our help is more personal, less about patriotism and more about faith. I believe that we will one day have to answer for our actions and our inactions. My faith teaches that if a stranger dwells with you in your land, you shall not mistreat him, but rather love him as yourself. For you were strangers in the land of Egypt. We are admonished to take in the stranger, for inasmuch as you did it to one of the least of these, Christ tells us, you did it to me. Every major faith tradition on the planet charges its followers to treat others as we ourselves wish to be treated. I don't know what good there is in faith if we can't and won't turn to it in moments of human need. And I thank Cardinal O'Malley, Bishop Borders, and the many other faith and lay leaders I've spoken with for reminding me of that. Now I want to invite some of our guests this morning to make a few comments, and then I'm happy to take any questions you may have. Cardinal?
Thank you, Governor. Good morning, everyone. Governor Patrick has recognized the human tragedy and indeed humanitarian crisis presented by the children now at the border coming from Central America. This past week, Pope Francis, in addressing questions of immigration globally, recognized both the complexity of the question in its broad dimensions, but then focused on the overwhelming immediacy of the needs of these children. The Holy Father addressed directly the human and moral crisis on our border through these words. He said, "I would also like to draw attention to the tens of thousands of children who migrate alone, unaccompanied, to escape poverty and violence. This is a category of migrants from Central America and Mexico itself who cross the border with the United States under extreme conditions and in pursuit of a hope that in most cases turns out to be vain. They are increasing day by day. This humanitarian emergency requires, as a first urgent measure, these children be welcomed and protected. These measures, however, will not be sufficient unless they are accompanied by policies that inform people about the dangers of such a journey, and above all, that promote development in their countries of origin. The Catholic Church, at every level, globally, nationally, and locally, has long experience in assisting immigrants and refugees, often fleeing from danger, suffering, and deprivation. And we are willing to enter a collaborative relationship with the government to meet this urgent need. We do not have church facilities that are appropriate, but we do have social service agencies in the Archdiocese with skilled resources to provide programs of assistance and support within the framework of a larger federal and state program providing finances and collaboration. It's crucial for all of us, I believe, to begin any discussion with our eyes on these children. The archdiocesan agencies are already stretched by demands here at home, but we still wish to offer our help in facing this humanitarian emergency. I ask my faith community and the wider public to understand compassionately the extreme circumstances these children are facing. As a country and a church, we are capable of providing crucial assistance. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you for your leadership. Good morning, everybody. My name is Yusuf Vali. I'm the Executive Director of the Islamic Society of Boston Cultural Center. I'm here today because, first and foremost, this is a deeply personal issue to me. My family and I moved to this country when I was 9, and we came here from India for opportunity, for a better education, for a better life here. And we have to keep in perspective that this is why these children are coming here. They are escaping a terrible situation back home and looking for opportunity. While, of course, a long-term solution is critical, I think we as Bostonians, as people from Massachusetts, have a choice, a basic choice, which is to be compassionate and hospitable to these innocent children, or will we be callous and simply turn them away? Now, I grew up in Kansas City, Missouri, and I've lived in Boston for the last 6 years. And what we do as Americans is embrace strangers, the wayfarer, just the way that my family was embraced, and just the way that I, through the help of my community, was able to make it through high school, through college, and now have amazing life here in America. Now, from a Muslim perspective, American Muslim perspective, we're in the month of Ramadan, which is a month of fasting, a month where we abstain from water, from food, and we are taught to be good people, to do good acts, so that if we sacrifice for God, God will give back to us in ways that we can't even imagine. The Quran teaches in chapter 4, verse 36, "And do good unto your parents, close of kin, unto the orphans and the needy, the neighbor from among your own people, and the neighbor who is a stranger, and the friend by your side, and the wayfarer." Of course, there is going to be a little level of sacrifice on Massachusetts, but I'd urge us to be hospitable, to make this sacrifice for those kids and for God, because I am confident that the blessings of God will flow upon this Commonwealth, and that is why the Boston Muslim community is standing with the governor today. Thank you very much.
I am Bishop John Borders from the Morning Star Baptist Church in Mattapan. And growing up without a father and a working mother and having to go home every day to a lonely apartment, from pastoring in one of the most devastated, drug-addicted, gang-infested areas in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, I know how important this issue is. And Governor Patrick, those of us who are part of the faith community are praying for your courage and strength at this time, and we believe that you're doing the right thing. And we encourage the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to pray for you and to pray for our nation. The human instinct is to help those in need, whether they be strangers or friends. During a fire, we run to make sure that people are evacuated from the fire scene. During a natural disaster, we will fly around the world to rebuild. During acts of terrorism, we will enlist and fight for justice. When our children are in need, we will clothe them, we will feed them, and we will shelter them because it is our human instinct to do so. There will always be enough resources to do good. The Bible says that the strong must bear the infirmities of the weak. And I am convinced, and you've heard it already here, that these children did not run just to the United States of America. They ran to an ideal that our forefathers and our ancestors ran to also. That is mercy and compassion and justice and opportunity. Jesus Christ told his followers, "Go and learn this. I will have mercy and not sacrifice." So let's show mercy to these children while they are in our state, while they're in our presence. Let's practice the golden rule. And let's be the kind of Americans and the kind of people that we know naturally we are. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Rabbi Bill Hamilton of Kehilloth Israel in Brookline, Massachusetts, and along with faith leaders here, Governor, I want to speak on behalf of my community and the Jewish community throughout this Commonwealth to lend unqualified support to this remarkable act of making available a space for these children. The psalmist teaches, "The Lord loves the righteous, the Lord protects the stranger, the Lord gives courage to the widow and the orphan, the Lord secures justice for the oppressed." Let us not politicize the fragile plight of petrified souls, what we call in Hebrew nefashot, precious souls of God. In addition to what's been said, I simply want to add that from our tradition's perspective, our Commonwealth will actually be richer, more true to what we can truly be as a Commonwealth, should the time come when these children are in our midst. And may we find a way, because we are opening our doors, because we are showing our glowing humanity, may we find a way to realize our potential as a Commonwealth. Governor, we thank you. And because of this courageous and important act, our prayers are with you. And let us pray that we realize what the prophets taught of old, that our task is to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with the Lord our God. In that walk, may we walk alongside these precious children. Thank you all very much.